Hey y'all, it's Billy here. I'm back on the channel, and today I am finally bringing you guys the long-awaited collection video that I've been talking about for months now. So without further ado, here they all are. Yeah, I pretty much just have them laid out right here to show for this shot, and then I'm gonna tell you guys that I'm gonna be doing this starting with like the smaller kind of stuff and then working our way up to the bigger kind of stuff. So that's how we're gonna do it. Let's jump right in. Alright, so starting off, we have my Kyosho Mini Z. I've been showing off this car pretty frequently on my channel for the last few months now, so I'm going to kind of give you all a tour of it now. So I guess to start, we have a Audi R8 body on this. This is the more aggressive one. There is a more neutral style body that I tried recently, and it didn't really work out, so we're using this one. This is the radio I have for it. This is the basic radio that it comes with, the K2531P by Synchro. It's pretty cheap from what I hear around the track, but it does the job, and I'm pretty much just going to use that until it breaks or something happens. So let's get into the body now. Alright, so underneath the body, what we will find is a pretty stock Kyosho Mini Z. As y'all can see, there haven't really been too many upgrades made on this, but it is still really competitive in the box stock class at Houston RC. We have some Kyosho wheels and tires. I believe these are the 3.0s in the back, so they're kind of like the mids, I guess. We have a transponder up here, and we have a number 3 T-plate on the back, and as well as some metal wheel nuts. It's pretty reliable. It hasn't broken that much. I think the main part that keeps breaking on this thing is the T-plate, but they're pretty cheap to work on, and they're pretty cheap to get parts for, and it's pretty fun. I really like it. And moving on from the last mini car to the next one, we have my GLR setup. So here we have just a little setup. This is just, I'm just showing you off this little gun case just because this is how I kind of pack it. So getting the car out and the radio, hopefully not taking out the whole thing. So this is my GLR. Y'all have probably seen this one a lot on the channel and especially on Instagram recently. Currently, it's my most expensive mini car, as y'all can probably tell. There's been a lot of money and upgrades put onto this thing. So to start, it's a GLR two-wheel drive. I'm not actually sure of the model name. I just know we call them the GLRs at Houston RC. But as y'all can see, the body has been used a little bit. It's been racing a little bit. I'm probably gonna get a custom painted body here soon. I just don't know who I'm gonna go to do it. And then for the radio, we have a Fly Sky Noble. As y'all can see, it's pretty nice. Hey there, editor Billy here. I forgot to mention that David and Courtney were the guys that helped me replace the internal battery on this thing at Houston RC a couple races back. I want to thank y'all for helping me get that thing out because I probably would not have found it otherwise. So I really appreciate it, y'all. Anyway, back to the video now. If y'all have these, y'all pretty much know all about them. They talk to you. There's a little touch screen where you can mess with all your trims and settings and stuff, and that makes it honestly really nice, especially for these little cars because they need a lot of tuning, albeit. Okay, so moving on to the chassis of the car real quick before we do that. This is a Joe Rima body, and I believe it is like the standard for the super stock class, as this is a super stock car, and we like to call these the Joe Mama bodies down at Houston RC. So that's that. Moving on to the actual car itself, we have a set of Kyosho tires on the back and the front. Moving on to the middle, we have a Houston RC motor in there. As y'all can see, it kind of says it in there. And it's probably one of my favorite motors that I've ever bought just because it's branded with like the track on it, which I think is pretty cool. We have a GL Racing servo, I believe. We have a Fly Sky receiver, a transponder, obviously. And that's pretty much all I know about it. There's a lot of tuning that goes into actually like making this car really good. Like you gotta kind of shave off like some of the rubber on the front wheels to make them rest flat on the track. And then, yeah, in terms of upgrades, I guess we have the brass chassis under here instead of the carbon fiber one. And then we just have our own parts in here. So yeah, that's the GLR. All right, so that's gonna do it for the mini cars. Moving on to the next size up. This is a 10th scale two-wheel drive buggy. This is actually my TLR 22 5.0 carpet edition. So kind of a mouthful, but it's a pretty fun car actually. It does really, really well on carpet. The only real thing I don't have on it that I probably should are the sway bars up here up front, if it'll focus. As y'all can see, there are no sway bars anywhere on this thing, and it kind of makes it handle a little bit funny, but it's my first 10 scale like two-wheel drive buggy, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to own. So yeah, I've been able to race it a little bit at Houston RC, which has been fun. The radio that we're using is going to be this Spectrum, what is it, DX5 Pro. Pretty nice radio for the car. It's pretty responsive, and it's pretty much a radio that I use for most of my like racing stuff anyway, so I guess that's continuing here with the racing theme. It's pretty much a stock body with some Proline. I can't remember the name of these wheels. I believe they're called Prisms, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. All right, so moving on to the chassis of the car, as y'all can see, there's a bit going on in here. Also, I did just check, and these are the Proline Prisms. So, and I think they actually are one of some of the best carpet tires that you can use. They have a lot of grip, so just addressing that real fast. It's a pretty stock kind of setup. There aren't actually any upgrades on this car as far as I know. We are running a 13.5 just stock Hobbywing motor, and as y'all can see, yes, those are my solders. I did this a long time ago, so I don't know how I even feel about that right now. But anyway, we have a Max 10 or an XR10, I believe, 10th scale system in there that I can take up to 2S. We have a 1256 TG, I believe, Savox servo. And then we have a Spectrum SR315 receiver in here. And honestly, I think it's a pretty fun car. It wasn't the most expensive race car I've ever had, but it definitely is one of the more interesting ones that I own because I don't use it all that much. Really just because there aren't a whole lot of carpet tracks here in Texas to go to. But now that we have one here in Houston, I'm actually really, really happy that we do. And I'm glad that I went out to race, so yes. Moving on to the next though. So moving on straight on to the next, we have our first basher. This is my custom Traxxas Rustler 4x4. As y'all can see, it looks pretty stock from the outside. I kind of like to think of this one as the sleeper of my collection because it's made to look like a brushed Rustler 4x4, but I can assure you that it's not. I picked out almost all of the parts for this except for the stuff on the main bits, but I'll get to that. So pretty much how it started its life is it started out as just a simple chassis from eBay that I bought, and then I put a bunch of electronics into it, and I also supplied the body and the tires for it. So yeah, it's actually pretty quick. Moving into the body, as y'all can tell here, we have the clipless system, as all Rustler 4x4s have, and kind of getting it off the last little bit's kind of annoying, but we're gonna get it off. All right, there we go. So here it is. As y'all can see in here, it's not a typical setup. We have a Spectrum receiver actually in this receiver box that binds to this DX5C radio. I know it's not on my DX5 Pro, but it is pretty nice, and I don't really use this radio all that much, so that's kind of why I have it on this Rustler. In terms of upgrades, let's start with just like the stuff that I've put into it. So I believe it's an SR315 in there. This is a Max 10 speed controller, and this is also the correlating motor. I don't remember the kV rating on it, but it is really, really fast, and it can go up to 4S, which I haven't had it on yet, but it is ridiculously fast on 3. So yeah. In terms of upgrades that were actually already on this thing when I got it, would be these, I believe these are called GTR shocks that Traxxas provides. They're the bigger ones, they're not the big bore aluminums, which are actually smaller bore than the plastic ones for some reason. But anyway, here's some the shocks on the back. Another big upgrade that this thing has are some, I believe these are made by Techno, but I don't remember entirely. These are some steel drive shafts. As y'all can see, they look pretty tough. These are way stronger than the ones that come with it, so that's pretty nice. On the bottom, I guess we have some RPM arms in the front because my friend broke them, and I just decided to get an upgrade just in case another friend wanted to play with it, and I knew it would be a little bit more durable. And another big upgrade on this car is actually like all of the little stainless steel screws, because I believe it comes with just regular steel screws, but the guy who owned it before put in those stainless steel ones, so now they don't rust. Not like I'm going through water anyway, but yeah, that's gonna do it for the Rustler 4x4. All right, so moving on to the next, we have my Mugen Seiki MBX8 Eco. Now, this is one of my favorite RC cars ever, really just because I've had a lot of racing experience with it. It's actually my second, I think, buggy, at least Eco buggy. I started up there with that low C, and then I realized that the Mugens were a lot better, so I got one of these. So I guess we can talk about the setup of this, because there aren't really it's not really like an RC car that you just like upgrade, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about like the stuff that I've put in here to make it nice. To start, this is a J Concepts body. All the Proline bodies are pretty much, they don't stick at all, so sticking to it. These are some J Concepts wheels and tires as well. As y'all can see, I can't remember the actual tread, but as you can see, the tread's kind of wearing down, so I might need to replace those soon. These are the reflexes for the Buggy. So one of my favorite treads of all time. They actually work really, really well on Truggy, but we'll get to that, don't worry. And this is a Proline wing up here from a while back that I kind of just slapped on there just because the old one was kind of not really doing that well. So let's get into the body now. So before we take off the body, real quick, the radio that I'm using is the DX5 Pro. So the same one as like a bunch of my other RC cars. Getting it off now. As y'all can see, it's a pretty basic setup in here, except kind of for the servo. Really, this is a really high torque, high tech. I don't really feel like saying that out loud, but that's the servo that we have in it. Really torquey. It probably would be better in a Truggy, but we just kind of have it in here just because I didn't really have anything else to throw in at the time. But moving on, we have a Milapse transponder in there that's been working since day one. The power system that we have in here is a Hobbywing Max 8 with a 2200 kV motor, so there's plenty of RPM in there. It's pretty newbie by my standards today. Probably what I'm going to be doing here soon is probably going to be swapping out this one with an XR8 that I have in that box over there. Just let me know if y'all would want to see a video on that, because that does kind of sound like fun to do a video about. As y'all can see, this is a pretty used system, as that fan cover has kind of broken off. So yeah, this is kind of the state that it's in, and I've had it for a long time. Probably one of my oldest RC cars that I have. So yeah, that's my MBX8 Eco, and moving on to the next.